was founded after 9/11 because they recognized that some people did something and that all of us were starting to lose access to our civil liberty.
Some people did something, said a freshman congresswoman from Minnesota, to support and justify the creation of CARE. Today, I am here to respond to you exactly who did what to whom. Madam, objectively speaking, we know who and what was done.
Let's go back to one of the worst times in modern history. After September 11th, things were very chaotic. As the smoke cleared and people in the country looked for identity and meaning, new groups started. There are groups in the United States that say they protect freedom, justice, and civil rights. Years later, those thoughts would run into a name that couldn't be overlooked. Ilhan Omar. She said something in front of cameras that would be remembered in the political world for a long time. Some people got something done. The answer came quickly. It hurt a lot for a lot of Americans to hear those words. They hurt like a fresh wound, a threat to the holy memory of the 3,000 people who died that day. Tonight, we'll look past the fuss, the news, and the anger to find out why Ilhan Omar's story is still being talked about in American politics decades later.
There is no uncertainty about that. Why your confusion? On that day, 19 Islamic terrorist members of Al-Qaeda killed over 3,000 people and caused billions of dollars of economic damage. Is that clear? But as to whom? I was attacked. Your relatives and friends were attacked. Our constitutional freedoms were attacked. And our nation's founding on Judeo-Christian principles were attacked. That's what some people did. Got that now?
That thing wasn't small. It was a terrorist act. 19 extreme Al-Qaeda members took over 19 planes in one morning, threatening the safety and unity of the United States. The country would change a lot. But when Omar's comments came out, they seemed to hide the deep sadness of that time, turning a great tragedy into a footnote. The public's response was very strong. For many Americans, the reaction wasn't just political. Sadness, loyalty, and shock drove the deeply emotional speech. They asked how a public figure could talk about the deadliest day in modern history without flinching. That question started a movement that took Omar from the news to hearings, turning a comment into a discussion about the most basic aspects of memory.
Mr. Speaker, pursuant to Clause 2A.1 of Rule 9, I seek recognition to give notice of my intent to raise a question of the privileges of the House. The form of the resolution is as follows.
Recognized.
Censuring Representative Ilhan Omar of Minnesota. Whereas elected members of Congress take an oath to bear true faith and allegiance to the United States without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion.
Now let's go to the solemn rooms of Congress. The name Ilhan Omar rang out again in the marble halls. However, this time it's a sign of division rather than a voice for progress. The room was tense. It's almost holy to be quiet. As lawmakers took their seats, all eyes were on the floor as a congressman from Georgia stood up and read the House's rules. The vote he brought was different from anything we've seen recently. It was against Representative Ilhan Omar. It got heavy in the air. There are charges of betrayal, treason, and breach of trust in every word. This wasn't just normal politics anymore. The tone was private. In the air was a question that had nothing to do with politics. Where does loyalty begin and freedom of speech end?
Whereas Representative Ilhan Omar took an oath of allegiance to the United States upon becoming a citizen, declaring, I absolutely and entirely renounce and abjure all allegiance and fidelity to any foreign prince, potentate, state, or sovereignty, of whom or which I have heretofore been a subject or citizen. Whereas on January 27, 2024, Representative Omar gave remarks at an event in Minneapolis in which she made treasonous statements.
The resolution made the United States' sacred pledge stand out. Anyone who is elected takes an oath to guard the Republic and defend the Constitution. This time, though, the charges were stronger. In it said that Omar had failed to do more than his job. It was no longer clear who she was loyal to. The paper talked about a speech she gave in Minneapolis in January 2024, in which she was said to have promised to be loyal to Somalia instead of the United States. This made a political disagreement into a matter of national security. In Minneapolis, her crowd cheered happily, hearing nothing but cultural strength. The same words were heard as a warning in Washington. Lawmakers and experts jumped on the comment and said it was an attack on American sovereignty. Something that might have been taken as bluster or a misunderstanding has now turned into a real fight. One that forced the country to deal with a problem that has been around since the beginning. Can heritage and pride live together without clashing?
As Representative Omar said, she has spoken to many Somalians who asked her to intercede for the Somali government by pressuring the United States government into certain actions. Whereas Representative Omar assured the Somalians she spoke to, the U.S. government will only do what Somalians in the U.S. tell them to do. They will do what we want and nothing else. They must follow our orders, and that is how we will safeguard the interest of Somalia. Whereas Representative Omar
The quote about being in the middle of a storm went around like wildfire. It is said that Omar told Somali leaders, "They will do whatever we want, nothing else." Someone said something that sent shockwaves through the political world. Then she promised to protect Somalia from within the U.S. system, which made the anger even worse. What did those words really mean? Some people saw them as a sign of national pride. Others said there was broken trust or even infiltration. Within hours, TV panels looked at her words one picture at a time. People talked about whether America's promise of representation had been used as a weapon from within. The same question was asked over and over in newsrooms, living rooms, and coffee shops across the country. How much will someone love you before they break?
As long as I am in U.S. Congress, Somalia will never be in danger. Its waters will not be stolen by Ethiopia or others. Sleep in comfort knowing I am here to protect the interest of Somalia from inside the U.S. system. Whereas George Washington warned in his farewell address of 1796.
The debate then took a dramatic turn when it came back to where America came from. The resolution talked about how wise George Washington's final speech was. A voice from a long time ago warns against fake patriotism and allegiance that is split. The quote rang so loudly through the room that it blocked out everything else. The word American must always come first. It was more than just a quote. History was telling them off. It was clear what the message meant. The founders' vision had drawn a line between identity and loyalty, and and Omar were on the wrong side of that line. The past came back to judge the present, and the decision was made in real time.
Guard against the impostures of pretended patriotism, and further declared citizens by birth or choice of a common country. That country has a right to concentrate your affections. The name of American, which belongs to you in your national capacity, must always exalt the just pride of patriotism more than any appellation derived from local discrimination.
The mood in Congress had changed from accusation to certainty by this point. The decision made it clear that Omar had broken her promise and said that her actions were like those of a foreign agent. The moment went beyond what was expected. It turned into a sign, a test of ideas, freedom, and even decline itself. Both Democrats and Republicans in Congress knew what was going on was important. Some saw it as a moral act to protect national unity. For some, it was political punishment that looked like justice. No matter how you looked at it, what happened could not be denied. Ilhan Omar had become a symbol of America's main ideological divide, between heritage and mistrust, between acceptance and exclusion.
Whereas these statements by Representative Omar clearly violate the oath she took as an elected member of Congress to defend and protect the United States Constitution. Whereas Representative Omar has exhibited the treasonous tendencies George Washington warned about, and her actions must be condemned by all members of Congress who adhere to the oath they took upon assuming office. And whereas by openly admitting her efforts to advance Somalia's interests